Alright, so, without further ado, it's time to do this lore guide. So, let's talk about Laura. So, for those of you who don't know, I've had a really long history with this Laura character. Ever since, like, I don't know, about a month after Laura came out, I've always been known as, like, the Laura guy. The only reason that she's ever taken a quote-unquote like a backseat or like competed for my main in the recent times is because of the rework, in which a lot of people, well, for me, at least for me, I think like her rework made her a lot less of a creative character to play, and she's a lot more straightforward and therefore like a lot less versatile. So we're gonna first talk about her abilities. We're going to talk about her role as a character in team fights. We're also going to go over her itemization, and then after all of that, we're going to talk about one of my replays that I played off stream, which I got a win on this character. And I'll just be going over my thought process on like how to play this character at a higher, basically the top rated ranked. All right, so first, we're going to go over her passive, because her passive is like one of Laura's most important abilities on her kits. So whenever you cast an ability, your next auto becomes enhanced with Phantom Thief. Phantom Thief basically makes it so your next basic auto attack basically turns into a cone, which does extra skill damage in that cone. So it kind of just looks like that. A couple things to note about Phantom Thief is that when you have a lot less attack speed, you are pretty much locked into the animation. So Laura's typically do build a couple of attack speed items just so the passive feels a lot smoother because of it. Another thing about her passive is that you don't really need to hit a skill for the passive to go off. So as you can see, I have like the Phantom Thief passive, even though I did not hit anybody with the skill. So this is actually really important to think about when you're posturing as Laura, as we'll be talking about this a little later, why this is important. So let's go over her Q now. Her Q, Thorn Lilac, she has two parts of her Q. So her first part, snaps her whip, has a cone, and it just does skill damage. Whenever you hit somebody with it, you get a second part of her Q, where she basically is just like a dash like that. This is basically just a good way to get a bunch of passive procs off. So you just auto Q, dash Q, and that's like 2 procs on your passive. So that's like 3 instances of damage. One thing to note about her Q is that if you want her cooldown to go off fast, her cooldown doesn't start until you used her dash. So it does not start at Q1. It starts once you've used both parts of the ability. So it's not like Luke, where if you just use Q1 and you throw it out there, you can't just like wait until like the very last second to go in, so you have Q up as soon as you go in. You have to use both parts of the ability. This is specifically the reason why sometimes it's good to miss on Q if you want to get the passive off. So if you just miss Q, you can then just prep passive and then just wait for Q to come up before you go in. So you could just like hold your passive, and then once your Q is off cool, then you could just auto Q, auto Q, auto Q. That's all the things to know about Q. Her W, she throws a card and marks an enemy with it for the next 60 seconds that they're marked. Every instance of damage, Laura heals a tiny bit. It doesn't really have a cast time, so it comes up pretty much immediately. The other thing is that only the first instance of damage of each skill will provide the healing as well. So, for example, I have Whip Skill here. So Whip Skill is 2 instances of damage, but if I press W and then I Whip Skill, actually, let me take damage. So I have taken a little bit of damage. So when I press W and then I press Whip Skill, as you can see, I only healed for 66 once. So it only heals after the first instance of the damage for each skill. So the next thing to talk about is your E. So your E is like your initiative tool. So when you throw it out, throw out this grappling hook, and if you hit a wall with it, you will charge right to that wall, in which you can recast E, or you could jump out, and you basically do a small knock up around you. So a couple things to know about this E is that the animation really depends on how far away from the wall you are. So if you're really far away from the wall, it becomes really easy to react to if you're on the enemy team, because you can literally watch her charging at the wall, and then you could basically, all you have to do is just watch for the second part of her E, because you literally can't do anything else. So what I recommend if you're looking to do a quick initiative is to stand right next to the wall like this when you're posturing. And then if you're looking to go in, you just instantly go EE. And it's a lot faster and it's a lot harder to react to. Can enemies cancel Laura E? Good question. So the interesting thing about Laura's E is that it's a projectile, but it's also a movement skill. So while you are CC'd if you are CC'd before you cast this, you cannot use this. However, if you've played League of Legends and you know that there's this character called Camille, Camille has a very similar ability to Laura's E. It's her E, where she hooks onto the wall and then she dashes out. But what some players do is that they use her E to purposefully tank CC while her E is in the air, so she basically latches onto the wall and she gets away from the CC. Laura's ability literally works the same way. If you feel like you're going to get knocked up or stunned or anything like that, you could just toss the E to a wall. And while you are getting stunned or knocked back or even suppressed, you will literally go back, you will start going back to the wall anyways. The only way that this can be interrupted is if you're in the second part of your E while you're dashing like this. So, while yes, enemies can't cancel your E, they can only cancel the second part of your E. They cannot cancel the, well, they can cancel you while you're charging at the wall, at the first part of your E. But while your E is going towards the wall and you're not charging it, they cannot cancel you, no matter what. So it's basically on you to try to react to their CC by using E like that. All right, so her R, basically whenever Laura presses R, you basically throw out this thing and you snatch everything around you. And if you hit somebody with it, they get pulled towards you. And then the second part comes out, and what it does is massive damage around you. What's really interesting about her R is that the second part of it, the bigger damage, has a bit of a delay to it before it activates, but it also stays on you before it activates, so it doesn't place on the ground. So what's really interesting is that you can use this to basically like travel with you. So what I like to do sometimes, what you can do is that you can R and then E, and it'll travel with you. So those are the abilities explained. We'll talk about her blink for a second here. This is like literally the only tactical skill that is used on Laura because it's just straight up her best tactical skill, no questions asked. There's literally like no other tactical that comes close to this because she really needs the repositioning of her R. We're gonna actually talk about her neutral real quick. When Laura's rework initially started, I thought her neutral was actually worse than old Laura. But playing this character more and more now, I actually think her neutral is actually a lot better. And the reason for that is because old Laura, a lot of her damage was not front loaded. You needed to stack your Q in order to actually do a lot more damage. Well, this version of Laura, her damage is a lot more front loaded. It's a lot more built on her passive and like weaving in your ability. The other important thing, your auto range is also like naturally a lot bigger, not only because you're using whip, but when you use passive, it also increases your attack range as well. What you can do while you're playing neutral is that you can kind of just like fish for your auto passives, sometimes your Q. So like you could do this while you're posturing. Keep in mind your neutral's not as good as like other range characters, but if you're just facing off against other melee players, it's actually a lot better than most melee characters. Another interesting thing is that if you hit your W, you can actually push for a trade as well. Because of the healing properties for W, you'll actually most likely win the trade. So let's talk about her actual different type of combos besides her neutral. We'll talk about her basic E combo when you initiate with E. When you initiate with E, throw your E like that. Then you want E2. Then you want to auto attack. Then you want a W, auto, Q, auto. That's your basic combo. I'll do it a lot faster to show you what it looks like. Oh, whoops. And then you throw out the whip skill at the end. So that's your basic E combo. This combo is actually really strong, and you can actually bring down like 80% of a carry's HP with that combo alone. So a lot of the times you don't really need to like use ultimate if you're singling out a carry. Another cool combo that you could do on Laura is that you can do the blink ult combo. So say you're posturing and the enemy, say like this dummy is like right beside the wall. What you can do is that you can blink near the wall like this, and then alt, and then instantly E. And then basically what you want to do is you kind of want to predict where they're about to go. Say you're here, and then you alt. The dummy will most likely want to go that way, so then you want to follow, you want to chase with the E like that. The other combo that a lot of people like to do is basically the E into alt combo. So what you do with that is that you E, auto, alt, auto, W, auto, Q, auto, auto. It's basically like the E with the card combo, but instead you just throw the alt in, and that's like your alt combo. This one's a little bit less reliable of a combo, and the reason for that is because when people, after your E and your R, you don't really have much CC to like keep them into your R. So people will most likely try to blink or E out or knock you back. So be prepared to blink in the middle of your combo just to keep people in your R. All right, so those are like the basic combos with Laura, how you play her neutral and stuff like that. We're going to talk about her itemization now. So there are two sets of items that Laura goes. One is Sultan's Turban with Holy Orders, and the other is the one that you see on the top right here, is with Dragon's Fury and Cabana. So I actually did a little bit of testing beforehand, and while Sultan's Turban and Holy Orders does do a lot more damage, it the damage evens out at around 120 defense. So if you're facing a lot of 80 carries, then Sultan's Turban and Holy Orders is a lot better. But if you're against, say, like a bunch of mages or a bunch of frontliners, then in this case, Dragon's Fury and Cabana is better because you get the utility of the armor shard from Dragon's Fury. And the damage evens out at around 120, which basically where most mages and most bruisers will have either equal to or more of. Other than that, your prioritization between these items is your Force Core, Holy Orders, or Dragon's Fury. The reason for that, why we don't go Tellurians first, is because you don't really use a lot of the stats efficiently from Tellurian. You don't really need the extra attack speed from Tellurian. And the other reason is because for Dragon's Fury, Pulverization is really good on Laura because you stack it really fast since you have a lot of instances of damage. And your cooldowns are really low too. And in case of the Holy Orders and Persona or anybody with this big unique skill amplification stat line is just straight up the best item in the early game, simply because of how percent skill amplification increase works in this game. So if you're familiar with League of Legends, there's this item called Rabadon's Death Cap. And Rabadon's Death Cap, what it does is that it just has a percent increase of your total amp. Holy Orders and Persona in this case doesn't work that way. How it works is that what it basically does is that it only increases the base amp from your items. So it's more of you think of it more as a way of like how your weapon mastery works, where it just increases the base stat value of the items rather than your total amp. Hence why percent amp is a lot better in the early game, and it starts to fall off more in the late game. So that's why you go Holy Orders and Persona first. Almost always first if you have it in your item build, because it's just the best item in the early game. Okay, so with that being said, I think I have covered pretty much everything about this character. So we're gonna hop into a game. I'm running this build, the 2-zone build, which goes Hotel School. I take E first. E into auto. Heals all 3 of these chickens, by the way. So you don't need to worry about Giga farming them. I call in the chemicals early because I don't have to worry about that later on. This is another like pretty fast build. So I get the boar here. And now I'm just kind of posturing for these wolves here. But I see a big fight here. Use the card to finish off the Abigail. I'll just let this play out. There's a sustain from the card coming, by the way. And I just get third party here. Unlucky. Is it a good idea to get used to... Is it a good idea to get used to prepping Q most of the time? Not really. Yeah, this fight I kind of giga mess up in. I had the flank, but I just kind of like played that kind of... I played that kind of horrible. All good. Let me show you what I should have done here. Alright. So I see Melody and Tiamat here. I don't have ultimate up here. So what I should be doing is I should be pathing towards the wall like this. Because this significantly increases my range when I path towards the wall like this. So Melody paths out here like this. So I card combo here. And what I definitely should have done here is I definitely should have whip skilled a lot earlier when Project Melody was like really low here. Unfortunately, the whip skill didn't land here, so Melody lives with like a sliver of HP. So we definitely could have traded. All good. Early wipe. Day 1. So I make Glacials here. Because Glacials is just a lot better. You get a lot more amps since I'm running Tachyon's Brace. Second part of ult only activates if it first hits? Correct. The second part does not hit. Otherwise, what you would see Laura's do is that they would just literally press R and then just literally wait until the last instance of the R goes off, then just blink onto your backline. Like that's what it would be. Like straight up what they would do is that they would like hide over a wall like this, and then they would press R. They would wait to see your like carry, like walk over the R, walk over and get vision. Then just press R and then just E onto your carry, and then they just instantly die. That's why the first part of the R needs to hit. Keep in mind, you can use it for the shield, but you also want to keep people in it for the damage as well. If you need it to survive, then I definitely say use your ultimate. So I'm the last one alive. I'm not trying to like do too much here. All right. So we have Blast Plant here. So me and Hadouken are posturing here. Watch what we do. We see Kadia here. Now, Kadia's in this space. If you're Kadia, what would you do? If you answered that you would E over the wall, you would be correct. So watch what I do here, knowing that I know that Kadia is going to E over the wall here. I travel with her, with the E. I predict the E, and I hop over the wall. And then I do my card combo on her. By the way, Kadia was at like 70% HP for that. I did not eat ult to kill her. Like, Diamond Shard finished the job. Yeah, so this is like a 20th party. I kind of just like, alright, it's time to dip out. We do not want to fight this team. The only person we could really kill is Leon, and even the Leon's on Tonfa. So that team is just really hard to kill in general, so we don't want to fight that team. Holy Orders is the base transition. When do you pivot to Cabana plus Dragon's Fury? It depends on your playstyle. If you are diving the backline, then Holy Orders and Sultan's Turban is better. But if you're running Dragon's Fury plus Cabana, then you're basically accepting that you're only going to be like hitting the front line. So honestly, in this case, I would say that like Dragon's Fury Cabana is probably better for like this team. So like in case like we're hitting the front line, I can just shred them down and we can kill the front line regardless. So honestly, in this case, Holy Orders, Dragon's Fury plus Cabana is better. But the reason why I didn't go Dragon's Fury Cabana here is because I was very unfamiliar with like the build. So I just basically did this because of comfort. Oh yeah, this next fight is a little bit of a fiesta, so get ready for this. So if you guys don't remember, yeah, team and gas station starts coming in here. Team at waist here, E here. So I look to go on my backline here. I miss everything on the Kadia, but thankfully my team was able to catch the haze out. And then we see that the other team is coming in. So what I do is I immediately disengage here. Now watch my HP here, and just look at how valuable card is here. I'm at 140 HP. Watch what happens when I card combo this Priya. Card, auto, look at my health. I just gained 400 HP for fun.
A subject has been terminated.
If that Priya kept going on to me, I would have killed her. So I have mobile VLS here. So I just VLS out here. Also, I see them call here. So I make the call to push up. And to like, because we're 3 mobile melees, we're basically trying to look for an angle to dive the Justina here. So we see that the Jukai is here. And we see that the Justini is here. And it's also the Nikki. So Yon Blast Plant's in here. She blinks towards us. So, knowing that Justina would go back like this, I'm going to E. I'm going to try to card combo here, I guess. I tried to be slick with it, but I get this killed. So because of that, I just hit the Nikki instead. I just straight up kill her. Yeah, that's a one fight. Laura has really good ways to dive, but she also has really good neutral and can also brawl the front line as well. So keep in mind that as Laura, diving is an option, but if you have to dive, make sure that you're looking for an angle and make sure that you're not making it obvious. And with that, that is going to be the end of this video. If you guys are watching this over on YouTube, I hope you guys will give this a like and subscribe, and check me out over on Twitch, over at twitch.tv/Esther with 2 R's at the end. Also, if you guys are wanting to learn more about the game, and if you have any questions or want to improve, make sure to join the Discord, as in Season 8, I will have something planned for you guys all to improve the game. All you have to do is just join the Discord and keep watch for the announcement for that. Other than that, please comment down below on who else you want to see, what other character guides you want me to do. And just like that, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.